Hey everyone, I'm Strategic Solutions Consultant at ProArc, Jim Spignardo, and once again I have Greg Dodge with me. He's our Strategic Solutions Architect as well, and this is our series talking about Azure Virtual Desktop. This time around, we're going to talk about transitioning from traditional remote desktop services to Azure Virtual Desktop. If you're dealing with complexities and the admin headaches of RDS, this episode is really for you. We're going to dive into how Nerdio Manager can make this move a lot easier.
Thanks, Jim. Yeah, this is a pretty big topic for a lot of IT teams that are managing RDS servers, and they're looking to streamline their operations and get back some of their valuable time.
Yeah, and I've been there, and so I know the pain. Give me an idea of, as far as managing an RDS farm, what are the main pain points?
Yeah, you're right. In general, RDS farms are pretty complex to set up and maintain. You've got multiple servers, multiple roles, and they all need to work perfectly together for the whole system to run, right? It means a lot of constant maintenance, sometimes troubleshooting. It's a pretty big drain on IT resources and can actually increase your sunk costs, right? And from maintaining, especially if you're on the older versions of RDS.
Sure, yeah. What kind of challenges do IT teams typically face with RDS as well?
Yeah, the biggest challenge is really around manual effort to keep everything operational. You're dealing with updates and reboots and security patches and load balancing, and it's not just about keeping the system running, but ensuring it's optimized for performance and users have a great experience. And then we got to keep it secure, which it's just very time consuming and prone to errors if you don't do it correctly. We've all had to roll back an RDS server from a bad Windows update.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. Knowing that that's so much to manage, how does Azure Virtual Desktop help simplify those things then?
So Azure Virtual Desktop cuts through the complexity by moving components to the cloud instead of managing them as on-premise servers, right? Microsoft takes care of most of the back-end work and all of the ways that the users connect to the Azure Virtual Desktop. And that means less time spent on maintenance and more time focusing on building great solutions for your users and IT initiatives. Now, plus, Azure Virtual Desktop also scales, which is something that RDS struggles with. We can take an Azure Virtual Desktop supporting 50 users and very quickly scale it up to support 2,000 users.
Yeah, we just didn't see that with RDS without some additional types of platforms placed on top of that.
That's
What
right.
about the transition itself? How can organizations who want to move from RDS, or we often even called it terminal services at one point, to Azure Virtual Desktop do that without a lot of disruption to their environment?
Sure. Nerdio Manager is one piece that helps that out. So Nerdio, it simplifies the migration by automating a lot of the process of moving users from RDS to Azure Virtual Desktop. It handles the deployment of all the VM session hosts, user profile management, and then at the same time, while it's doing this, it does cost optimization. You can start with a pilot for a small number of users, kind of work out all the kinks and make sure the process is working before rolling it out to an entire organization. And that gives you the ability to do a phased approach to migration and allows for adjustments along the way versus doing it all in one fell swoop.
Makes sense. So can you kind of walk us through the steps of a typical migration to Nerdio Manager?
Sure. So the first step, you got to assess your current RDS environment. How many users, how many user profiles, what type are you using, user profile disks, or are you using FS Logics? Nerdio Manager helps you set up that pilot and bring over a few users into that environment to start out first, right? Once everything's up and running, you can then kind of phase in additional batches of users and bring in more and more, and the system will automatically scale up using Nerdio Manager to support those additional users without you having to go build a bunch of servers and storage and those type things. Nerdio will actually manage the scale up for you. So you can go from pilot to production in a much shorter amount of time, including migrating over your users and saving their profile data.
Nice. So I think I've heard you mention the word cost optimization. What kind of savings can organizations expect from making the switch from traditional on-prem to Nerdio and AVD?
Sure. Well, Azure and AVD is a pay-as-you-go model. So if you just fire up a bunch of things and leave them on 24/7, you're not really going to save much money. Where Nerdio comes in is Nerdio has allowed you to have elasticity in resources, and it optimizes the cost by spinning up and spinning down the hosts and by managing things. So for instance, if you're a 9 to 5 shop, by 6 p.m., Nerdio can decrease your costs overnight and then have everything ready to go again the next morning. And you're paying for only what you use, right? You're not paying for what you don't use. And you don't have to buy all the expensive hardware and patching and the janitorial duties that go with maintaining an RDS system. It's all pretty much managed by Microsoft and Nerdio.
Awesome. Last thing I have a question about, because this is a big concern for RDS servers that were typically connected to the internet. So a lot of folks who got themselves into quite of a pickle at some point. There's all kinds of attackers that are constantly scanning for those types of resources. How does AVD compare to RDS in terms of security?
Yes, security is actually an area where AVD again shines compared to RDS or other solutions. Microsoft is handling the security updates and patches as part of the Azure service. It's a platform as a service. So they defend the Azure Virtual Desktop environment. They secure the perimeter and who gets in and who doesn't get in. Whereas, with RDS, you're doing that. You're having to protect your RDS servers and put them behind security appliances and firewalls. AVD offers right out of the box, not only multi-factor authentication with conditional access, but also the ability to do single sign-on and Windows Hello for Business and a lot of technologies that bring additional security layers to it.
It's awesome. Yeah. Well, this has been a great discussion, Greg. For those of you dealing with those complexity of RDS, you want to get through it, get over it. You're thinking about making that switch to AVD. We're here to help. Don't hesitate to reach out for us for guidance and support. And once again, thanks for watching.